Welcome to the Grandstand Golf Podcast. I am Kevin Bapty, and I'm joined, as always, by my brothers Craig.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
And Adam.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
So, guys, we just finished watching Martin Laird birdie the second hole of a three-man playoff to win the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open over Matthew Wolff and Austin Cook. Laird shot a final round 68 to win for the first time on tour in 7 years. Laird was a sponsor's exemption for this year's tournament after he had won the event back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, was Laird at all on your radar going into this tournament?
Actually, I think Laird was on our radar when we were doing our Wednesday night show on Twitch for DFS. Craig and I mentioned Laird a couple times, and I think Craig put Laird in a few of his lineups, actually. And for perspective, I think in a field of 140 or so, he's maybe 120, 115.
Well, I think he was priced at 61 or 6,200 on
right.
DraftKings, so that gives you an idea. But yeah, so we did mention him. I think he was a bit of a flyer mention, but no, it worked out. Unfortunately, the lineups I had him in, I only had 4 guys make the cut, so they cashed, but unfortunately they weren't big winners. But no, you love to see it for the guy. He was not. He had no. He was here in a sponsor's exemption. Last person to win while playing on a sponsor's exemption. Does anyone know?
Oh, I just heard this, and I'm blanking.
I'll give you a hint. He was in the playoff.
Matthew Wolff.
Yes.
Oh, I knew it.
That was a pretty good hint, though.
Yeah,
that was a good hint.
That was an easy one.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive performance from Laird. He seemed to make it dramatic all the way along today.
Yeah, I texted you guys when he was on 17. I'm like, I felt like he stood over that on the par 3 17th. He stood over the ball forever, and it felt like a spray was coming or something. Hit the cart path, and then, that scramble to get par there was pretty unbelievable.
That was unbelievable. But if you go back even further in his round, he looked pretty rock solid. Made a poor swing on the 8th hole and left himself in a bad spot and ended up bogeying. So he comes to the 9th, which is the par 5, a birdie hole.
Yeah.
Or where if you're not making a birdie, you're losing ground to the field.
For sure.
Just misses hitting the green, ends up in a terrible spot in that bunker, just totally plugged. So you're thinking, okay, here he's going to start leaking. He's just made a bogey and now he's here. And what a shot. He hits a shot, holes it out for eagle. That completely changed momentum back in his favor.
This shot, his left leg was out of the bunker, his right leg was in, I think. The ball was plugged right against the edge. The announcers were talking, saying this could go up and hit him, or this could stay in the bunker.
He could hurt his wrist. He just had
there's so many different
surgery.
outcomes.
There's so many things that could go wrong.
And he just kind of it just pops out and dribbles over, and it's like, this is on a putting line. Are you kidding me? There's no, and then it drops. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, he every time he looked like he might be down today, he pulled off some fantastic shots or made a big clutch putt. He didn't get it done in regulation there with a few bad swings on 18, but made up for it in the playoff.
Yeah, I wonder also because he was playing with Cantlay, and Cantlay fell off so quickly to start his round.
We'll get to that.
But if Wolff or Cook was in his group and a few of these shots didn't go his way, if it could have turned out differently. And the fact that he bogeyed 18, I don't know how you guys felt, but I thought I like Wolff a lot in this playoff.
Well, yeah, you hate to be the person who's just lost all the momentum going into the playoff.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to get it done in regulation. It was weird
because it wasn't really it was just 2 approach shots that he really lost momentum. I guess the chip on 18 wasn't great either, but he almost made that putt.
But it's more just when you go, when you need to par 18 to win the tournament and you make a bogey.
Yeah.
It's hard to recover from that lack of, to me, it feels a little bit like Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa.
Their battle.
When they were battling there. And it looked like Justin Thomas had it locked down, and then he lost all the momentum when Colin Morikawa came back and made that putt.
Yeah.
And he ended up losing,
Yeah.
So my takeaway from today was that with both Cook and Wolff, their rounds of 60, they both shot 66. They were 2 behind to start the day. Their rounds looked very comfortable and easy.
Right.
Wolff kept he made a lot of good putts today for both par and birdie to kind of keep his momentum going. Cook seemed like he was always in the right spot. Interestingly, both those guys bogeyed the par 3 14th. Both Cook and Wolff did, and that ended up being what cost them. But other than that was their only bogey on the day, and they just looked comfortable. It didn't look like it was a lot of work. Whereas Laird, it looked like he was working for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I took away from it as well. I also thought, because there are so many scoring holes down the stretch, at least 15, 16, I mean, I think Wolff had 180, 170 in on the par 5, where he ended up making eagle. That's almost more of a par 4, but it's a par 5, so that's a scoring opportunity. It was just kind of a matter of, can Laird hold them off, or can the tournament end soon enough almost? Because if you give them a couple more holes, which we ended up doing, but yeah, I don't know. It's impressive. You never know where that one stroke's going to be. If it's that chip in from 9 or that huge putt he had on 17, but they all add up, and
and Matt Wolff, on the round, he gained almost a stroke and a half off the tee, whereas Laird lost over a half stroke off the tee. So everything feels a lot more comfortable when you're one of the best drivers of the ball in the tournament, And then on top of that, Matthew Wolff was over 3 strokes gained putting today. So it's one of those ones where one guy was playing really good golf, and it's fortunate for Laird that he had 2 strokes going into the day, because Matthew Wolff had a better day, but Laird had put himself in that position. So
right, yeah.
Yeah, Wolff was really impressive to me. Like I say, I just saw him making momentum-saving putts time after time, and I made a wager on Wolff yesterday after he shot the 61. Before the rest of the round was over, it just felt like that number was going to be close enough, and with the way he was playing on a course like that where you do have scoring opportunities, particularly if you're a little further down the fairway, I thought he was going to be close enough that I liked his value I think I got him at 750 to win, and I liked it all the way up until it wasn't him. So
I don't know if you were watching that, but that 61, he left strokes out there. It felt like that, he birdied 16, whatever the par 5 is there. And then he missed. He had a makeable eagle putt there, and he ended up with a tap in birdie. He missed a birdie putt on 17. So it so easily could have been a lower. You don't often see someone make 3 eagles and shoot a 61 and feel like they left strokes out there.
I thought he was going to get 4 eagles in whatever it was, 6 holes.
6 holes.
So not only do you not usually see someone shoot a 61 and have a lot of strokes they left out there, but to shoot a 28 on 9 and have left a few shots on that 9, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
But and he also had a great birdie putt on 17 in regulation today, that it did everything but go in. It was a beautiful putt. I thought he made it for sure. So, Wolff's extremely talented young player, and he's going to get his. I was hoping it was going to be today personally, but you got to be happy for Laird. He grinded hard, and it's a huge win for him to not have won for 7 years, to get back in the winner's circle. At that point you got to be wondering if you're going to do it again. So
absolutely. And you could see he was pretty choked up afterwards. You could tell how much it meant to him, everything you get with the win. It's a huge deal, and the fact that he did it at a tournament he's won before, and also at a tournament that he was second before. I mean, he knows where he's cashing his checks, or where he's getting his checks. Come to Vegas every year.
Yeah, it's his 3rd playoff at the Shriners.
Give him the key to the city or something. Come on.
And this tournament, I'm just thinking back on this. This is 3 of the past 4 years that have been tournaments, because Cantlay had won in a playoff.
That have been playoffs, you mean?
Oh yeah, sorry, had been playoffs. 3 of the last 4 years that have been playoffs. He won 3 years ago in a playoff. Bryson, I think, won it outright, and then Kevin Na beat Cantlay last year in a playoff.
And Martin Laird's loss came in a playoff against Jonathan Bird, who got the hole-in-one on 17.
Yeah,
in the playoff. That's unbelievable. So I think he's every tournament, like those 3 tournaments, all happened on 17 for him in playoffs.
That's right. Yeah.
So is there a, like, I don't know, I don't go to all these sites. Is there any sites where you can bet on something going to a playoff? Like, that's all I want to do next year for this tournament.
Yeah, of course there is.
You can, of course.
Oh.
Going into the tournament, you can. Yep.
I don't think you're going to love the odds, but
No.
it's a weird thing to root for.
It's never that attractive. And then you're waiting to the very last moment.
Sounds great.
Yeah. For your 250 line.
After 36 holes, it seemed like it was Cantlay. It was like a battle of the Titans, right? Like with Cantlay and Bryson.
Yeah.
And then Bryson collapsed on Saturday.
Yep. Bryson, that was, I mean, just, you know how Bryson is. You can't look away no matter what he's doing, whether he's playing lights out or just, going the other way. You can't look away. It was spectacular.
Well, yeah, and it's weird that in a lot of ways he was kind of the story of the tournament, even though, I don't know, what did he end up? Finished tied for
T8, actually.
T8?
Yeah.
And shot a 62 and then felt like he kind of shot about as poorly as he could have with a 67, but then, oh no, we actually saw when he was getting really sloppy with a 71, and then was pretty much on cruise control on his way to a 66 today.
Yeah.
So Bryson said this may not be we might not see him again until the Masters, and it's kind of a sneak peek into what his game's going to be looking like. And you got to think,
you don't like what you see, or what?
Well, no, I'm just saying that you have to think that if Bryson has it, the only person that can beat him really is himself right now. It looks like.
I don't know about that.
That's quite the
golf,
competitor. That's quite the competitor too, though.
Yeah, that is true.
Bryson versus himself, maybe the ultimate competition. So yeah, Bryson's collapse on Saturday, and it essentially took him out of contention. And then Cantlay today. Adam, defend your boy here, because I don't have a lot of warm and fuzzies. I used him in the one and done. I thought it was some kind of trick that you guys were talking him up about his first, second, and I was like, this guy's a can't miss prospect for this tournament. And then I see nobody else picks him. And then going into today, I was just thinking about how much I was going to be gloating in the one and done, and
yeah,
when you look at my picks, you really shouldn't take too much information and too much insight from my picks. So
there's no reason to defend. Like, he doesn't need a defense. There's no reason to defend him. He had a good tournament. He finished strong. He finished strong enough. If he didn't put himself in such a good position, you wouldn't be hating on him. But he still had a good tournament. I mean, we can look at people like Morikawa or English, or I'm just picking on Craig's picks now, but people that didn't actually make it to the weekend.
Well, yeah, and so I mean, I think on Cantlay, so why did I not pick him, say, going into the tournament? I didn't think he was in great form. Like, I think he's when you look at the past couple of years, his baseline play is great, but it didn't seem like he was super hot coming into this tournament. And then I think what you saw through the first 3 days is someone who's just very comfortable on this course and is a very good golfer. And then maybe we saw a little bit of the fact that his game isn't exactly where he wants it to be right now on Sunday.
And also the course was playing, like, Sunday was the hardest day by far. Like, the scoring average for Thursday, Friday, Saturday was about 3 under par, and I think today was maybe 1. So it was tougher. I mean, what did Stewart Cink do today?
But I don't think of Cantlay as someone. So say if you put him against this field, I don't think of him as someone who's only going to do well when conditions are good.
Right?
I think it's more just he didn't have it today. Like that's
my only defense. My defense with Cantlay is it's hard to win a golf tournament. You have to do it for 4 days, 72 holes, and he was good for I mean, like 60 of them. He was great.
Yeah. See, my point with Cantlay is that I think, you know, with him being your boy and what you've brought up with him in the past is, can he take the next step? This is a time where you, again, against a field like this, he's in the final group playing with somebody who he should be able to intimidate a little bit, probably. You know, what is Cantlay in the world? Top 10? He's got to be right up there.
Just
now.
10 to 15, somewhere around there.
10 to 15. Yeah.
You know, like if this is my boy Tony Finau, and he's playing in that same position, I am not looking for anything but a victory.
What did Finau do this week?
Well, Finau's dealing with some...
Let's not pick on a person who has COVID.
Yeah, come on.
Well, why are you doing a direct comparison? That makes no sense.
Well, no, I'm doing a direct comparison because as somebody who, my boy, what I'm looking for him to do is
you think
close
Finau,
these ones out.
The one-time winner on tour was going to close out
I was
this
going to say, I
tournament?
don't know if Finau's the most intimidating person. I don't know if that's the
But this
one
is
you should have
exactly
gone to.
this is exactly what I'm saying though. Is he's somebody that my expectations are for him to close it out against that kind of competition,
Which he
And
never does.
I would expect, which I think he's going to start doing this year, and that's my whole point. But I would expect the same from Cantlay. I thought that's the level he's at, not to go out there and lay an egg on Sunday.
So that's the reason I didn't pick him.
Let's take a step back. I think the reality is, I don't think Patrick Cantlay's game is in the place right now. Like on the week, he didn't gain any strokes. He was neutral off the tee, and he was basically neutral on approach. So I think what we saw through the first few days was more someone who is not like, I don't think he's getting there because he's overpowering this golf course. I think he was basically like smoke and mirrors his way into that final group on Sunday. And then it all came back and everything spiraled and bit him a bit when it came down to it on Sunday. So I think this is sort of the, his ball striking needs to be in a better place for him to be the golfer that he can be. And I mean, most of us saw that going into the tournament, so we didn't pick him, but I think that's just your bad.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I didn't pick him is because I'm holding him for a bigger tournament with a bigger purse that
me too.
I feel like he will win.
When his form's a little bit better too.
When his form's a little bit better, yeah.
But you know what? I think from what we did see, I think there's promising things to take away. I think that this course is a good course for him to come to. Like, it would have been a lot better, I think, if he had shot like a 68 or something like that today, to even if he didn't win, not leave on such a bad note. But this could be the kind of course that he comes to, plays well for a few days, starts to kickstart things again, and can hopefully take some positives away from it.
I mean, it's like if you're a fighter and you just like, you pick a fight that's kind of like a get right, it's kind of a punching bag type fight, and you can kind of get back to where you have been. Or maybe it's kind of like the college football warm-up game, the Appalachian State, which sometimes doesn't go well, but you kind of, you go to these familiar places and you get a little bit of form to carry you through the season. And you didn't necessarily need to win to do that, but I think it's improving for a longer successful season.
Well, that's a really rosy way to look at about Cantlay's results, I think, this week. But I guess we can agree to disagree on that. Let's recap.
We're talking about Bryson and we're talking about Cantlay. Like, do we feel like Bryson leaves this feeling like he fell on his face because it happened on Saturday? They both ended up at 18 under. They both ended up tied for 8. They had a top 10. It's not like it's only negatives to take away for Cantlay.
Like, Cantlay still beat Webb Simpson. He beat Louis Oosthuizen. He beat 130
over
other
100 golfers.
That's great. That's great.
He should have won this tournament with
that's
the caliber of golfer
point.
he
that's
is
my
in the
point,
final
he should have
group.
won this tournament. That's all I'm trying to say here.
All I'm trying to say is golf is hard, and winning golf tournaments is very hard, and predicting who is going to win golf tournaments is even harder.
I'd say actually the winning golf tournaments is the harder one of those.
Listen, I know it's a big field. You don't get in that position all the time, right? And when you do, I think a guy like Cantlay is looking to win. I don't think he's looking to take any moral victories out of a Sunday performance. He's looking to win.
If you're worried about this for your one and done, I think you're in for a rocky, rough season ahead of you when you start missing a couple of cuts with your guys. And
listen, I'm not even worried about the one and done at all. I think I feel very comfortable about where I'm at with the one and done. My point is more, I picked Cantlay. You know how it is when you're looking to cheer for guys, when you're looking for guys that maybe I'm going to start being a fan of this guy. I haven't picked in the one and done. He's about to just catapult me so far into first, I might be uncatchable. Looking good, and then he just, I'm ignoring his taking forever to hit the ball because you're telling me his backstory, and then he just doesn't do it in the end, and it just leaves a sour taste. All right.
Let me just finish with this. Sunday and his performance on Sunday is no reason to not be a fan of his. If you need a reason to be a fan of his, listen to our My Boys podcast, and I share why he's a great person to root for this year.
Yeah, I'm
Seems
still
like a nice
I'm
guy.
still a fan of Cantlay.
won.
I wish he would have performed today.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if we need to beat the dead horse. I'm sure that
Yeah.
no one feels worse about how he played than Cantlay does. Yeah, I think the only one the person who probably feels the worst is me when you look at the picks that I made throughout going into the tournament.
Right. So let's just
rough.
recap the picks quick, and we'll start with Craig's winner, Colin Morikawa.
Okay, so let's start there. So Colin Morikawa was -6 through 2 rounds of golf. What the cut ended up at -7. The lowest cut we've seen. How long was it, Adam?
I think ever. I think it broke
in the
it
history
broke
of the PGA. So he did enough through the first 2 days to make every cut throughout every PGA Tour tournament until this point. So yes, that was a miscut, but let's get a little context there. Doc Redman, sleeper, -5. -5 is usually pretty good to make a cut. Harris English, one and done, miscut, -5. Yes, I picked people who missed the cut, but they missed the cut on the number in a ridiculous cut, or by 2 when it was a ridiculous cut.
No, that's not true though. You did pick Louis Oosthuizen, and he made the cut. Oh, that was.
I
was
don't
my
think he
fade.
picked him. I think he faded him.
Oh, hey, I faded Neiman, and he
Joaquin Neiman. I don't know where that
Joaquin.
came from.
No, I don't know. I was just rolling the dice.
So for all your griping about how poor Patrick Cantlay did, he was still the top finisher of our picks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well that was I mean, that was done as of Friday pretty much. But Webb Simpson managed to climb his way into a T13.
That was my
in
pick.
The one and done.
And winner, yeah.
I'm surprised that you took the Players Champion there.
So
That's a big purse there too.
So Kev, you because of what happened on Sunday, you feel that Patrick Cantlay is leaving here with nothing but bad thoughts.
Listen,
Something that shouldn't have happened for a top 15 golfer. Webb is ranked, 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that in the world? Are we feeling better about his tied for 13th than we are about Cantlay?
If you don't understand the difference between playing in the final group and shooting a good final round to move up into 13th, and playing in the final group and shooting a bad final round and falling to tie for 8th with guys in the same area in the world ranking, I don't know I'm going to convince you that these are totally different things.
Webb is actually 7th in the world.
Webb is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're playing 72 holes. I get that. It's just I don't think we,
You're looking at it from a purely statistical, everything's going to average out standpoint, and I'm saying I think there's more to it when you're in contention to win.
So you guys know when you said beating that dead horse? I think that horse is dead, guys, and you're just kicking it a little bit now.
Hey, you keep bringing it up. I'm trying to get away from it. Anyways, let's give the one and done update.
Well, Top Canadian was a good race.
Yeah, that was a good race.
I had Hadwin, and you, Kevin, picked Michael Gligic, who finished T27, and he has a pretty cool story. And he's playing really good golf right now.
Yeah,
I think he Monday qualified this tournament, didn't he?
He did Monday qualify, and that's why I
Yeah.
picked him, is because I thought he was gonna. I was hoping he would ride that.
I love
hot
that. I love
round.
it.
Yeah, and he must not have shot a very good round today, because I think he fell a little bit. He was higher most of the week. He was flirting with top 10 a lot of the week. I know.
Yeah, that's right.
Not sure what he shot on Sunday, but
Yeah, he actually shot a 72.
yeah.
So do you want to lay him down next to Cantlay or what?
I think they're at different points in their careers, to be honest. But,
Fair.
hey, you're the one that's talking about the dead horse here. So the one and done update, Craig's in third at 247,000, Adams in second at 330,000, and I'm in first at 1,100,000. So
I'm just happy to keep Webb and Cantlay in my pocket.
Craig, I got good news for you too. The next two events are no cut events, so you're gonna get something.
Feeling good.
all right, Craig, why don't you give us your good, your bad, and your ugly this week?
Well, I feel like I almost want to change this now because at the start of this, my ugly, I now feel like I want to defend this guy, but we'll start out with the good. So basically, this week I'm looking at people's final rounds. The Sundays, who did what on Sunday?
Okay.
And so Louis Oosthuizen, he actually had a fairly poor Saturday. Played himself a little bit out of contention, but came out there, shot a 64 today, low round on the day. I don't know, maybe one thing that came out while I was watching, he's never won a tournament in the United States.
Yeah, that's right.
It's something that doesn't seem right to me with Louis Oosthuizen, but he only has one PGA Tour official win, and it's because he won the Open Championship, which they call a PGA Tour event.
Yeah.
The bad. So Stewart Cink, if you have not looked at the numbers yet, Stewart Cink shot a 81 today, which sounds more like something I would do than like something Stewart Cink would do.
Oh, 81. I don't know.
Maybe back in my prime.
Are you quitting after 16 or something?
Yeah, is that not at 81 still? No, I guess maybe he's looking to get his son back on the bag here. I don't know.
Yeah, he had been playing really good golf.
He had been playing really
3-4 weeks, whatever the Safeway was.
I saw him shooting up the leaderboard again this week, and I wasn't surprised. So I am surprised to see him have such a poor finishing round, for sure.
And then finally, the ugly, and I feel bad to bring this one up again, but it's Patrick Cantlay, just because, usually with the ugly, I like to look for something that could have been really good and was not. So Cantlay was 73 today, which was 2 over on the day. And yeah, he had a chance. He was in the final group, had a chance to win it. It was +4, I want to say, through about 4 or 5 holes. And that was it.
No comment.
Yeah, I'll leave that one. Adam, let's move to your 3 stars.
3 stars. My 3rd star this week is Matthew Wolff. I just feel like for some reason, as more of a golf better than a golf fan, but I've just been waiting for him to come back down to earth, and it isn't happening. He's just been so strong ever since he turned pro. He got a win in his 4th start. He's been top 5 in his first 2 major starts this year. It seemed too good to be true, but he just does it week in and week out. He made an eagle on 16 on Sunday. I think he barely missed a couple putts on 17 and 18, which would have eventually led him to a win. And then so he's in the playoff. And the one thing I thought when I was watching him is he just looked very poised. Like he was joking on the tee box about like keeping that Shriners dice thing. And he just looked like he enjoys the moment almost. Like he really thrives in that moment. And I think he's going to be one of these guys that we're going to see more charging on Sunday than falling back on Sunday. I just feel like I wasn't a believer for so long, but he just keeps doing it again and again and again.
Well, I thought the broadcast actually made a few really good comments about that. I liked what they were saying about him being young and just oozing with confidence, because that's you can tell that's where he's at right now. Like he's already playing with house money because of how successful he's been this early in his career. He's already locked in his statuses and his exemptions and everything with a win, and now he's just seeing what he can do. He's just going for it, and it's impressive. He's still, I think, kind of raw, but
it's just like you're waiting for something to give him a rough time. Maybe it's open style courses in the UK, or maybe it's Augusta. Like he just seems to every test It was first the PGA, then he conquered that. Then the US Open, and he kind of conquered that. He's got a win already, so he can close. He's been in a playoff now.
But I think if you were watching any of the featured group stuff in the first couple of days where you get to see really like every shot, not just highlights, it's not like it was swimming. Like he had points where he was struggling, especially I think
he was
very start of the first round.
Thursday morning. He was
so
I don't know.
I think to me it's less that, you know, he's just on everything's going swimming, and I think it's just someone we see now that there's a comfort level on the PGA Tour. Like this is a guy that was the best leading golfer of this great class when they were in the NCAA, right. Or NCAA as some call it. And so I think we're just finally seeing him being that same comfort level at the PGA Tour at the pro level. Yeah. And so even when things aren't going well, he scrapes by, and then when things start to go well, like it did when he was pouring in eagles, then he can capitalize on it.
Right. And that's what was so impressive today for me watching him, was that he early on didn't really seem to have it. But he kept making these, like I said, momentum putts. You know, I think he made a big one on 8, the tough par 3, and then, you know, turned around and missed. He was short on 9 on the par 5 and pitched it to about 7 or 8 feet and made that putt for birdie, which was like must make for where he was at that time, and just kind of kept like grinding out those the best score he could on each hole, and that's what got him into the position he needed to be at the end. You know, he was right there, and because he is so talented that the eagle. You know, I kept texting you guys on the back 9. I was just waiting for it. I felt like he was for sure going to eagle one of those holes because he has the firepower to do it.
Well, yeah, he on 16 he's 350 down the middle of the fairway. Then he has whatever, like 170 in 15.
I think they said he had a wedge in there, didn't he?
I don't know.
I mean, some of those holes were the yardage just were ridiculous though, especially today when they had a tailwind.
Yeah. So I was very impressed with him.
My second star is going to Martin Laird. Impressive
Second star.
Second star, I know, because there's someone more impressive out there, Craig. I think we talked about him enough. Impressive finish, even though not great down the stretch in the 71st and 72nd hole, but he got it done in the playoff, making birdie on 17. I guess the one stat I have here that I didn't mention earlier is he actually hasn't had a top 5 on tour since July 2017.
Wow.
So like he's had a couple top 10s and like I think there's a T6, T8 here and there. But I mean, to really be in contention, you need to be within top 5. And it's been since July 17th he had his last top 5. So yeah, I mean, we talk about on the podcast all the time how it's a grind and getting to that top 125 or locking up tour status or all these different ways to kind of make your career. So he just kind of punched another couple of years of status and exemption. It's awesome.
Good time in his career too, because he's 37 now, so he's probably got, you know, a bit more time where he should be in his physical prime, and then so hopefully he can take advantage of it.
Yeah,
that's not just because I'm almost 37 or.
My first star. There's another tournament going on. There's a bunch of great tournaments this weekend, but one going over in Europe. Tyrrell Hatton took home the BMW PGA Championship by 4 strokes. The win actually moved him into the top 10 in the official world golf ranking for the first time.
Really?
Yeah, so Hatton is now in the top 10. He was none of our boys, but I think we all like to root for him. His humor is great out there. I mean, he was talking to his ball, I think, all the way down the final stretch on Sunday.
Yeah, he's one of my unofficial boys. I love watching him play.
It's an easy guy to root for. The one other note I have here is like the most controversial moment it seemed like of the tournament was him wearing a hoodie. Golf Twitter seemed to be very split if it was appropriate or not to wear a golf hoodie. And he wore it, I think, through all 4 days. So, guys, what is your take? Is a hoodie appropriate golf attire?
I don't know. I mean, personally, I love hoodies, but I don't think I've ever wore one on the golf course. So, I don't know.
So maybe if it's
totally
okay with it.
Yeah, I'm on board if it's acceptable.
I think, you got to get the next generations into golf, and if it's like EVR's jogger pants or Hatton's hoodies, I mean, let's loosen up the whole like country club statusing a little bit, where you can't have pockets on your shorts, or you can't even wear shorts, or whatever it is.
Yeah, okay, you got me on board.
I care less about any of the like what are the specific formalities and like what things do your clothes have on them. Like, you just got to look neat. You got to like don't be all sloppy looking, you know. We all worked on a grounds crew. Don't wear the same thing you were wearing to work on the grounds crew once you go out there to play. And I'm cool with a hoodie. Just look neat, look sharp, you're good.
I'd rather play golf with someone who's shooting 2 over wearing a hoodie than someone looking like all professional and spraying it everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, Adam mentioned the BMW PGA Championship. Is that what they call it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good golf this week. There's that on the European Tour. I wanted to talk a little bit about Sei Young Kim, won the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. She shot a super, super impressive 63 final round. I think she was leading by 1 going into today, and she absolutely just sprinted to the finish. She had 4 birdies in her last 6 holes to erase any doubt that she was going to win. I think she won by 5, maybe even more than that.
Yeah, it's pretty big, I think.
And Inbee Park was kind of getting close enough to her to put some pressure on her. She ended up shooting a 65. She's won 7 majors on the LPGA Tour, so she's, a formidable threat to have coming up behind you, and it did not phase Kim at all. So that was pretty cool. That was her first major. Unfortunately, our girl Brooke Henderson, she was 1 back going into today. She had a really good 65 yesterday to get into contention, but she faded early with 2 bogeys on the front 9, and the way Sei Young Kim was going, she was already pretty much out of striking distance after that. She ended up finishing. She shot a 72, and I think finished in 6th, I believe.
Yeah, I think still a top 10.
Still a solid finish. Brooke always seems to be there in the majors, doesn't she?
She is. She's always near the top. She's on
the
first page of the leaderboard, seemingly every big tournament.
Yeah, I love it. So, I watched a little bit of that this morning because it was on early before the PGA coverage started. And then the other one, I think we all watched.
Before we move on from that, I just want to bring up this slow play penalty. So on Friday. It's the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. Clara Spilkova got a 2-stroke penalty on the 15th hole for slow play. Ended up missing the cut by a single stroke.
Oh man!
So yeah, they're not messing around when it comes to handing up those penalties. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's good. They need to crack down on that because. That was it. Stacey Lewis who won, and the first thing she talked about was the pace of play because she had to. That round took 5.5 hours or more to play that final round, and she said that she was in there in the lead in the final group, and she was having to like hum and sing to herself to keep her like from going crazy at how slow her partners were playing because she's a fairly quick player from what I understand. But I think they have to crack down. That's too long. It just makes it. Who's gonna really want to sit down and watch a 5.5 hour round? Painful, like it's
so. I totally agree, but I think the one problem I have with it is that I think it needs to be somewhat formalized.
I was just gonna say the same thing. So if they went about it, and it's like 1 official warning, 2 official warnings, and then they actually I don't know. I didn't hear about this. So if that happened, then I think that's appropriate.
I don't know how it actually.
I totally disagree. I don't even know about the whole warning things. Like to me, it needs to be okay. Like once you get to your ball, you've got 2 minutes that you need to hit your ball by. You get to your ball. It's your turn to putt. You got a shot clock.
I don't think we need a shot clock.
I don't think there needs to be a shot clock either.
Because you line up a tee shot, it takes 30 seconds. Some putts you need 3.5 minutes.
So I was thinking about that. So if that's the case, I mean, I don't know if you guys watch much curling, but when you see that it is on,
you got your stopwatch on your hip and just.
Well, no, but they have a clock for the whole
clock,
game. So you have, I forget what it is, if it's a half hour and 45 minutes or an hour, something like that. So say, the official who's going around, the scoring official who goes around with every group, everyone has some amount of bank time, and so say you want to use more of it on the greens, like say Dustin Johnson, he gets up there and he just goes to a shot and he hits it, and he wants to spend more time around the greens. Maybe he wants to spend 3 or 4 minutes reading a putt, getting set up, making his putt. He can do that. To me, it just, the whole warning, assessing strokes, it's so dependent on that person in that moment having the, what are you going to call that on Tiger Woods on a major on Sunday? No, you need to have some sort of way of taking it out of that random official's hands and making it something that's just an absolutely embedded within the game. To me, that's just what I think.
Yeah, I think I've heard that on the LPGA tour, one of the things one of the players suggested was a reason she thought it was an issue is because some of the girls are trying to be so polite and not start their shot process until their playing partner has already hit. But, we grew up playing ready golf. So you go up to your ball and you get ready to hit. And whether it's your turn or not, you're getting ready and deciding what you're going to do. So that when somebody else hits, you're ready to go and you hit. And supposedly what's happening is they're going up to their balls and they're figuring out who's going first. And then that person does their whole pre-shot thing. And then the other person just completely waits, doesn't even start talking about their shot until after. And so it's just slowing everything to a grinding halt. Yeah. Which to me, it makes no sense. Again, growing up playing ready golf, it's you keep going. You just keep it moving. That's what I mean. It's common sense to me, but I've also never played championship golf. So
yeah, Craig, I think your idea is good. I need to think about it for a little bit. I think it's a good starting off point. I don't know if it's the perfect solution.
Or say, for instance, this morning I was watching the featured group before coverage started, and Bryson, he was about to tee off. I forget what hole it was on. Wind gusted in a way he didn't like. Backed off it, and I don't know if you know Bryson before his drives, he has to do this pump up routine. So had done his whole pump up routine, was about to hit it, backed off, started his whole pump up routine again, had to retighten the screws on had to retighten the shaft and the screws on his, totally. And so to me, that's exactly the type of thing where if there's an official that, whichever of those two things that I threw out there as possibilities, whether it's you've got 2 or 3 minutes to hit your shot once it's your turn to hit and you're at your ball, or if it's some overall amount of bank time that you have that you get to use, then it forces people to have to account for that as a resource. And they only have so much of it. You can't just keep backing off a shot because you don't like the wind or whatever.
Well, I'm pretty sure Cook's group was put on the clock when he was on 15 or 16 and rushed his eagle or birdie, or maybe both his putts down the stretch.
I think they just need to do something to formalize the whole process.
I think if any of our listeners didn't already know that we were Canadian, they will after you made a curling reference, Craig.
I like it.
All right.
Hey, if there's one sport we dominate besides hockey, it is curling.
The other tournament I wanted to talk about was the SAS Championship on the PGA Champions Tour. Ernie Els won that one with a 40-foot bomb on the 72nd hole, or I guess it's the 54th hole.
Right.
It was Els' second PGA Champions Tour win in his first 10 starts on that tour. He birdied the par 5 17th and the 18th hole to win by 1 over Colin Montgomery. It also blocked Jim Furyk's bid to win his first 3 starts on the Champions Tour.
Do you think these guys like Bernhard and Monty and whoever, Jimenez, are like these young whippersnappers coming up with Furyk and Ernie and Phil? They're too long. They're too long off the tee.
Well, for those guys, Els and Mickelson have always been the young whippersnappers, haven't they? So
Yeah, I know.
they're probably used to it.
We had a good run on the Champions Tour. Then now you guys turned 50, and
Well, Jimenez has won at least once this year, or has he won twice already?
yeah, those
He's
guys they'll stick
He's
around
doing
for.
well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Longer is not going anywhere.
No, he can still tee it up in the Masters and make a cut.
Oh yeah, hey, I might tease my one and done a little bit, but Bernhard's in. He's in consideration.
Especially for November. There's just something about that cold weather.
Oh yeah. But it got me thinking. Els won, and I watched Monty being Monty, not quite getting there, and I can't help but root for Monty. Monty isn't somebody I never rooted for when he was playing on the PGA Tour. But getting to know more about his story and more about his personality over the past 10 years or so, he's a funny guy, and it's good to see him out there like continuing to play such high level golf. But that tour is just in such a good place right now, I think, with Els, Furyk, Mickelson, Montgomery, VJ, all these guys are just they're just getting there, and it's exciting. Is
it because before you didn't care about them because you never saw these guys when they're in their prime? Oh. So like now these are golfers that you watched when they were like the man, and so now they're there. You're like, oh, this is actually interesting. I can get on board with this.
Well, it totally is. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Like these are the guys that when I started watching golf, these were the guys that were the big names, right?
Yeah.
So to see them now, kind of, I hate to say it, but sort of being relevant again because they're competing at that. In that tour, it's really cool. I think
it's way more interesting to me now that I actually know the people and it gives some, you care about it a bit more.
Exactly. So I just think that they're in a great spot, and I'm going to definitely be looking. I'll be following the Champions Tour more than I have in the past. That's for sure.
They're fun ones to watch.
Yeah, they are. So why don't we move on to stock up and stock down, Craig? Who do you have for us this week?
Okay, well, I rarely bring this guy up. Going up, moving up, stock up, I've got my boy, Will Zalatoris.
Okay, wait.
It's a roller coaster.
Wasn't he your stock down last week?
After being your stock up the week before?
But remember, I said I'm not getting off the bandwagon. I'm just saying, pump the brakes a bit, slow down a bit. But what I'm saying, don't worry about pumping the brakes.
Just hammer that pedal.
All aboard, everybody, let's get going. No, so, I've spoken about it before. He's currently on the verge of special temporary membership on the PGA Tour. He ended up a shade outside of that today. He needed to be tied for fifth with only two people, I believe, and ended up tied for fifth with 3 people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, he's any sort of, he makes another cut, essentially. He is going to have enough FedEx Cup points to have temporary status. And he has all of his sponsors exemptions for the year left. He's going to have another free entry into the not next week because it's a limited
I think it's
field.
Bermuda.
Bermuda, is that the one?
In 3 weeks from now, I think they said, yeah.
Got you. So yeah, I mean, he's essentially there. So yeah, it's going to be nice basically for the rest of the year. We'll see him. He won't be able to get in every tournament just because he's pretty low on the pecking order, but we'll get to see a lot of him on the PGA Tour this year.
Yeah.
So awesome. Pretty much he just needs any kind of, if he makes a cut, he's going to have enough for...
He needs I think so. Single digit points, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, congratulations, Will, on being stock up for Craig this week, because
it's an accomplishment.
It's up or down.
It's up or down.
He'll find some way to talk about you.
And then moving down, I rolled the dice, picked Harris English for my one and done. I thought he was coming in with great form. He had been super consistent, hadn't finished outside the top 25 in quite a while.
A couple of months or something.
Yeah, and he barely missed the cut. He was -5, cut was -7, but he didn't really he didn't really show a ton of spark. Like -5, the scoring average through the first couple days was, it was basically 3 around. So you expect Harris English in this kind of field to be better than average, not worse than average. We saw Harris English last season go from being someone who was a borderline top 125 guy to being, top 30 or 40 in the world rankings.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we don't see him slip from where he got to this year, but stock moved down a bit from what we saw from him this week.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Adam, who do you have moving up?
Yeah, moving up, I have Justin Suh, who we haven't seen play much on the PGA Tour. He is a former Rolled Am #1. He's taking advantage of sponsors exemptions, and same thing that kind of Zalatoris is doing, and trying to Monday qualify and do whatever he can to get these PGA Tour starts and get some exemption. But he got a top 10 here, so he got an automatic into the Bermuda in a few weeks. He also had a top 20 2 weeks ago at Corrales Punta Cana. I just feel like there's a lot of chatter in the DFS golf community about him as a great sleeper for this week, and I just want to shout out Craig for...
I was going to say, was that chatter coming from us? Because we've been hyping him up for a little while.
You were on him 2 or 3 weeks ago, so we've been on him way earlier. He's going to be a fun one to watch through the rest of the year, I think, because he is loads of talent, and I think we're going to see him at the top of these leaderboards.
What's his status?
He has no status.
No status.
Okay.
He doesn't even have Corn Ferry status, I don't believe.
So can he play his way on as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He'll just kind of have to keep parlaying these top 10s or sponsors invites, or go out there and try to get a Monday qualifier.
What did he finish this week?
I think he was T8, or I'd have to bring it up again. He was in the top 10 though.
Tied for 8, so he'll get a free start out of it. And I don't know if we've brought him up on the pod at all. We've spoken about him a bit on the YouTube channel, but I'm pretty sure he's 4-year All-American at USC. So the guy has serious chops. Yeah. Super talented. So it's going to be, he's one of these people that he's part of this Morikawa, Matthew Wolff, Victor Hovland. He's part of that class when they were in college. And so it's going to be really exciting to see if he can come and get to that level on the tour here.
And those guys just shot up so quickly, way faster than any rookie class really ever should.
Well, and so it feels like this is like what's taking him so... Well, like, no, what they did was actually the abnormal thing.
Yeah. He's just kind of taking a different route to get there, but I think he'll get there.
Yeah.
And my stock down, Rickie Fowler. So I was kind of telling, again, this is another kind of more DFS centered, more betting one, but I was telling Craig that I think with Fowler, I want to be early. I think it's coming around, working on his swing, different swing coach, all these kind of things. But I'm like, I think he's struggling, but I want to be early on Rickie. Yeah, that changed on Friday in the morning. I think he was 3 under, 4 under going into the day. So I'm like, okay, a nice kind of cruisy 2 under, 3 under will get you into the weekend. We'll go on some birdie runs then. He on the par 5 16th, which we talked about, what Wolff eagled today on Sunday, he threw it in the water, brought it back, was way right, kind of pin hunting on a sucker pin and into the bushes. Ended up going, I think, triple bogey there. Moves to 17, another kind of water on the left, got it in the water again. I think another double bogey there, completely just flushed away any chance of making the weekend right there, literally in the water. I don't know what's going on. He's going at pins I think he shouldn't be going at. His swing's not 100% there. But the fact of the matter is he doesn't have a top 10 since the COVID restart, and he's only made 5 of 10 cuts in that same time, and one of them was a no-cut event. Rickie, you're killing me, man.
So this is totally an aside, but because you kept saying he put it in the water, is there something? As I seem to have noticed lately, the announcers keep referring to them as hazards. Very few are calling them water.
I don't know if you noticed, but at one point he referred to it as the he might have said water, and then he like corrected himself.
That like the penalty area or the hazard or
yeah, it was weird.
I don't know if there's something going on there, but
or no,
like
maybe he referred to it
water.
as hazard, and then he referred to it as penalty area, or like I forget what it was, but it was weird to me. It was very you know how they get these lists of things they can and can't say. It was clearly this was one of the things.
It's got to be that powerful water lobbyists. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. They don't want water to be thought of as a bad thing.
Yeah, or maybe like in Vegas, they don't want to like let it be known that there's water on the golf courses because that place should not have water.
It's Matt Damon and his water.org. They've been really hammering that golf is not negative context for water.
Well, as a water scientist, I'm okay with that approach.
All right, so for my stock up and stock down this week, I want to give a shout out for my stock up to Austin Cook. Again, I thought today it did not look that hard for him today. It looked like he, was very comfortable and was, played a very solid round to shoot a 66 and get into that playoff. And even in the playoff, he had 2 looks at birdie. He didn't make one. Laird ended up making the birdie on 17, but good week for Austin Cook. It's his highest finish in a long time. I kind of dug a little bit deeper into him. He had a good year in 2018. He won. He had 3 top 10s that year. Finished 38th in the FedEx Cup. That was kind of his best season he's had so far. Mm-hmm. Last year he kind of made half the cuts, missed half the cuts. And it was on kind of a similar thing this year. Hasn't had a ton of success, and so this is a huge place for him.
Yeah.
Somebody I'll just kind of keep my eye on. I was just impressed with the way he played. It didn't look like he was the moment was too big for him or anything like that.
It kind of seemed effortless for him. It looked really smooth.
Yeah. So hopefully, we see him making his way onto leaderboards more often. And then for my stock down, someone who it looked like the moment was
just
too big for.
real quick on Austin Cook, because we talked about him much, and for someone that almost won the tournament, he also, like every category, he was almost a half stroke gained on average through the tournament in every category. So it was every facet of the game he was doing well in, which, maybe that's one of the reasons it looks effortless is when there's nothing you really look like you're struggling at.
Actually, can I say, if you look at the strokes gained for the 3 that were in the playoffs, it's remarkably similar. Have you seen that? Like
I'm just looking at it right now. Yeah,
their tee to greens all like within 2.2 to 2.4. They're off the tees all within 0.3 to 0.4. Like it's the exact.
They
same
almost gained a stroke around putting each.
It's remarkable, and there's probably no rhyme or reason. It's just a weird coincidence.
A statistical anomaly. Yeah.
For my stock down, I guess I won't beat the horse anymore, but it's Patrick Cantlay. He didn't do what I was looking for on Sunday. And I think, and to be honest, the fact that it's a stock down more speaks to what I think Patrick Cantlay should be or can be. Maybe it's because you've talked him up so much, Adam. I don't know. But I expected him to go out there and if he didn't win, to at least kind of put a good performance together, and he just
I think I said it on a previous pod. The stock down, it's not players that I enjoy rooting against. These guys, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
So yeah. I'm wondering after Kevin makes Cantlay his stock down, and I make Harris my stock down. Adam was maybe thinking about Webb at one point. Maybe we should have a blanket. We can't pick our one and dones to be our stock down, because unless they win, we're just going to be so upset with them that no.
That's pretty much where the category Cantlay falls into this week.
Maybe if you no longer have stock, the ability to buy that stock, you can't make them your stock down.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, at least I snuck him in this week before we make that rule. So does that pretty much wrap it for the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open?
I did want to say one thing. I think it potentially might get looked down upon as a birdie fest and just kind of a birdie race, but I was kind of talking to Craig about this, I think on one of our shows, maybe on Friday. The one thing I liked about this is that we saw varying players at the top of the leaderboard. So we saw old players, we saw younger players, we saw players that hit it long, we saw players that hit it short, we saw great putt. I mean, they're all playing the same course, and the course is fair for everyone. I don't think it matters if it's minus 23 or minus 11. And that's what I think might potentially get a little bit of hate, but I think it's not warranted. I think it was a fair test, and it's just a certain type of test.
I think the other thing you see too is, comparing this to Winged Foot, say, which obviously it's the U.S. Open. It's a different field. Like the field is so completely, so much stronger in the U.S. Open. But I think that this type of tournament, you got all these places where you have to be very accurate. They've got the banks that you can so easily lose balls down the side if you're a little bit imprecise coming into the greens. I think these type of tournaments open themselves up to a lot more players to potentially win. Whereas when you do get those really hard courses, it narrows it to, maybe 20 or 30 people have a shot of winning that tournament. And it does introduce different kinds of excitement to it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that you need to have a mix. I really like the tough tests. Like, there was Winged Foot. There was also the tournament, I think it was the BMW at Olympia Fields before the US Open. Like that, I love that. It was just firm and fast and just a great test. But you do need a mix. I like these ones too. That when you have a back nine that can realistically yield eagles on 3 holes, that makes for an exciting finish. And Augusta is probably more like 2 holes, but that's the beauty of Augusta. Augusta has the 13 and 15 that you can make a 3, you can make a 7 on those holes, and that's what's exciting.
And I think we're going to hear more and more talk as this whole Bryson show continues. I think we're going to hear more and more talk about trying to Bryson-proof courses or essentially all of this new generation that's going to be hitting it a mile further. But I think we have to be careful not to look at, okay, let's make everything longer. Because I don't think that's the defense against long hitters. I think that makes it so that only long hitters can have a chance then.
I completely agree. And I feel like we've seen tournaments where the course has been set up to defend against that, and that's just where they thrive.
Yeah.
If you add length to the course, you're just helping them.
Yeah.
And you're punishing the guys that don't hit it as far. That's all you're doing.
For sure.
So anything else on this week's tournament? Greg, you look like you got something there.
This is one I want to bring up just because I was so excited to bring this up, and then Kevin Streelman was one of the persons I had as a sleeper on our sleeper show.
Yeah.
And he had made an incredible run to make the cut. His last 2 holes, he was playing 8-9 on Friday as his last 2 holes. He birdied 8 with like a 18, 19 foot or something like that, almost 20 foot putt. And then eagled 9 to put himself on what at this point looked fairly safe at 6 under. And then, as the day went on, 6 under became
less and
less likely. And then it was only like as the last few golfers were finishing that it moved to 7. But so
I got my weekly rage of players finishing in the morning. It was Matsuyama who finished on 9, and he parred 9, the par 5, to finish 5 under. And the announcer's like, well, at least he's safe into the weekend.
Yeah, these guys just have no clue.
How do you not? It's
the cut.
really
I think the
simple.
cut might have been at 4 then, but like, how do you not see that this is gonna change?
So they've been averaging 3 strokes under par for 18 holes, and then the next group is still averaging 3 under par, and then
they haven't started their rounds yet,
and then it's just magically gonna stay there.
Yeah,
it drives me crazy. Like, Hideki's booking his flight. He knows. Like,
he knows he's out. Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, I hope he's not booking his flight because I think he's in the field in Vegas next week. So
what a segue.
That's one of my first shots at a segue there. Next week we have the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek. So this is the tournament that's usually played in South Korea, but it's going to make a 1-year move to Shadow Creek in Las Vegas because of COVID before returning to South Korea next year in 2021. So it's a very strong field, and it's a no-cut event. Mm-hmm. So like Adam said, Craig, I think you're going to make some money on the one and done anyway, so that's good.
We'll see about that.
But yeah, I think it's quite a strong field. What's his name? Koepka there is making his return, I believe, at somewhere where I think he's had some success at Shadow Creek, hasn't he?
There hasn't been much played there.
No,
I don't think there's been anything played there. There's been the match between Tiger and Phil, the match in 2018. Yeah. It's a pretty exclusive club from what I know. There's some pretty good stories that are out there about pretty notorious or like celebrities trying to get on and they just didn't qualify for some reason. So yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see on TV for sure. I think it'll be really neat for the golf fan to kind of see the course with these guys on there.
And so this is the first of back-to-back no-cut events. Zozo is the following week. Is that right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think these both as no-cut events seem to.
That might be 2 weeks in a row for me to make some money in the one and
How
done.
about that,
Craig? You're gonna jinx yourself. You're gonna withdraw for sure. Someone's gonna.
Do they still get checks?
But they tend to attract a pretty strong field with the no-cut events. So we should get some good fields over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully some good golf. Any notes you guys want to make about those?
I think the only thing I wanted to say, so they teased it next week and how strong the field was, all the people who were playing in it, and they had Jordan Spieth up there. Like, is there a point where we're no longer having him there as someone who is indicative of a strong field?
You know what? I was never a big Spieth fan when he was playing really well, but I've also come to be more of a Spieth fan now, just because of hearing of why they love Spieth. One of which is being that he always seemed to be greater than the sum of his parts. He seemed to scrap it around, but at the end of the day, it's about getting this little ball in a hole, and he did it in fewer shots than everybody else, even though it didn't look the prettiest all the time.
Yeah. So I probably cheered against Spieth when, it just, to me, it seemed like it was coming too easily to him. I was always like, you need to like deal with a little bit of adversity. What are you, 19, 20, 21 years old, and you're having all this success. And so I'm actually going to have a much easier time cheering for him now than I did when he was the phenom. Whereas I feel like most people, they cheer for the phenom and now they'll jump off the bandwagon. I'm going to jump on. I want to see him come back and get it together.
So I was this exact same way as you, and then number 12 at the Masters happened. And that year when he put 2 in the water, and I was like, okay, if you come back and win this tournament, I have nothing but respect for you. And he came close, actually. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, but to me, that's a whole different kind of adversity from like losing, or having to find it again.
Yeah. Well,
maybe it'll be next week.
The other thing was CJ Cup at Shadow Creek. I don't think we'll have any data to go from. So Craig might his computer wires might frizz up here while he's trying to figure out who's going to win. So that'll be interesting.
I've been doing a lot of work this past little bit trying to introduce my new model, my new and improved, updated statistical model. And so, yeah, it's going to be another week out, I guess.
Well, we look forward to it when it comes.
When it drops.
Yeah. When it drops, yeah. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps us. Guys, why don't you tell everybody what you're up to this week?
Yeah, so Craig and I will drop a couple DFS videos on Tuesday, probably picks and fades and sleepers. So look for them around midday on Tuesday. Then we'll be live on Twitch Wednesday night, breaking down the entire field. It is a little bit different with it being a no-cut event, so we'll look at different things, drafting, scoring, birdie or better, anything we can do to kind of gain a leverage on the field. And then Craig and I will probably do a couple showdown videos on YouTube throughout kind of Thursday, Friday on the weekend as well.
That sounds good. And as always, you can find all of our content at grandstandgolf.com. That will be the home of the new model once it's dropped in the next couple of weeks. So please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter at Grandstand Golf, at Adam Bapty, at Grandstand Kevin, at Grandstand Craig. And we look forward to talking more golf with you in the future. Take care, everyone.
Happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
Thanks a lot, guys.